online profile. So I hope that there's something for everyone that you can take away with after you leave the presentation. And yeah, before we get started on the work, I just wanted to acknowledge that we're also on the unceded territory right now of the Musqueam, and Vancouver is on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish peoples. And the work that we do right now is not really going to do more other than just acknowledge that. So I hope that we all can think about what being on stolen territory means, just for a minute or something at the end of the presentation or whenever you have time today. And let's do your introductions. I would love to know your name, and then, yeah, I think everybody here is from IRES, but if you're not from IRES, just let us know where you're from. Okay, let's start.
Hi, I'm Anna. And
I'm Evan, and I am also from IRES.
I'm Vincent. I am saying
Do we need to say our degree, our PhD, or?
Sure. Yeah, if you would like to share, go ahead.
My name is Luis. Taught me a lot from IRES. I'm an assistant.
My name is Tarek, multiple IRES, and I'm
Lydia, IRES Masters.
Morgan, IRES.
Annabelle, IRES Masters.
Camilla.
I'm looking to PhD and I'm not to the
Great. Great.
I didn't hear about that. Okay. Good.
Communication for work.
Yeah. Yay. IRES stands for the Institute for Resources, Environment, and Sustainability. So I'm the communications manager for the department, and all these like lovely people research something related to sustainability.
The elder student. I didn't want to say third. Yeah. Thank you, Nivi. I am an elder master's student here at IRES.
And I'm Vicky, and I'm X.
Yeah.
Okay, and quick introduction. Felix? Great. Okay, let us get started. So the first thing I would like you to do is choose what you're working on. Hopefully we'll have time at the end of the presentation where we're doing Q&A for people to pick a topic and just go for it. But first of all, choose what you're going to work on today. So identify your research abstract that you want to write a lay abstract for, or a figure from a paper that you're working on that you want to create a graphical abstract for. Or you can start by Googling your name if you want to work on the digital presence side of things and see what comes up. I would suggest that you Google your name in incognito or Mozilla private browsing so that you know what someone who has never really interacted with content related to what you might interact with will see when your name comes up. And once you know what Google puts out when your name is searched, try to choose a profile, an online profile that you'd like to spend a bit more time on. And since this is a professional development seminar, the profiles that I'd recommend you focus on are your IRES profile or your other department webpage profile, your LinkedIn profile, Blue Sky, or your Google Scholar ID, or what's called an ORCID ID. An ORCID, I think ORCID has ID in it, or so your ORCID profile. So make that decision. I'll just give you like 10 seconds to tell your neighbor what you're choosing to do.
And it's most advanced because I'm put up bottom because they and I think I'm like sexy. Like it like drains you.
I could see my. Oh,
Okay, I'm going to gather everyone back and we'll get started with the principles of good science communication. So the principles of good scientific communication, you can start by thinking about the fact that interaction and talking about your science is not a skill that comes to everyone easily. It's not something that is intuitive for everyone. So it's totally okay to spend time developing a little bit. And it's a different set of skills than the skills that you're trained for usually in the classroom. I think things are changing a bit, but yeah, it's something that you can practice and get better at. So what I wanted to do is contrast writing an academic paper or a dissertation with creating a scientific communication piece. And you can imagine yourself as a florist. So one of the things that you might think of a florist doing is just displaying every single item that they have on their shelves. The florist probably does know all the taxonomic information, all the Latin names of everything they're putting on the shelves. But you're doing it in a way that is different than just writing those names down and barraging the person that comes into your shop with all the information that you know. You're taking that like wealth of knowledge that you have and you're standing at your door and you're saying, hey, come in. The florist wants you to buy their product, but you're not going for a monetary output here. You're just engaging someone to look at your work, to take it seriously, and maybe to just think that it's fun and cool. And I do want to note, by the way, if you encounter anyone who's coming to your door while you're selling your flowers, who's trying to poke holes in your research, who's not taking you seriously, who's just like giving you all these questions that aren't really relevant, and this might be a journalist, this might be a member of the public, you aren't obligated to interact with that person. You can extricate yourself from them, even if you've agreed to do an interview, for example. So you really want to engage with people who are going to treat you respectfully. Okay, so that being said, so your audience should be someone who is going to respect you, and make sure that when you're thinking of your audience, you're thinking of someone who's just someone that you might bump into in your neighborhood, a friendly neighbor. And they ask you about what you're working on, and you want to kind of give them an elevator pitch for what you're working on. And the way you can start these conversations is by asking yourself and asking them, what's our common ground? You can ask them, hey, are you familiar with BC's carbon tax? Just like a florist might ask, like, hey, do you know what color flowers you're looking for? And if they say yes or no, that gives you an avenue to start the conversation. It is about asking these sorts of questions so you get to know who you're talking to. And then that'll help you widen the topic that you're talking about or make it more narrow. The next thing you want to do, and backing up for just a second, the reason I'm giving you these principles of good science communication is because they're going to apply to all of the three things that come further down the line, the graphical abstract, the lay abstract, and the digital presence. So the next thing you're going to do when you're talking to someone or when you're writing or when you're creating your visual is you're avoiding jargon. You're not, again, like going to mention all the Latin names of all the flowers that are on display. And the reason for that is people are just going to engage with you more if they understand you. And the next thing is keep it short. We don't want to be any type of splainers, mansplaining or womansplaining, whatever. I know we're all super excited about what we do, but keeping it concise is a way of inviting people into the conversation. And if you keep it concise, it also shows that you can describe your work in like a sophisticated manner. Even if you're not using big words, the ability to boil something down and remain accurate, that's a huge skill. And it'll help people, again, understand you and be able to engage with you quickly. So just as a ballpark, to keep some ideas in mind, a radio interview on average is 5 to 7 minutes. Like the whole interview is going to be 5 to 7 minutes. And I'm not saying that these principles only apply to these, very formal interviews. But yeah, just if you're going to be interviewed on an audio format, they're usually 5 to 7 minutes long. A TV story is about 2 minutes long. And then a print interview, if somebody's going to be writing up, a journalist reaches out to you and then is writing up a piece, those are usually 10 to 20 minutes long. And part of it is because it takes a long time to transcribe, which maybe a lot of you are familiar with from your research. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to talk about is how to develop a lay abstract. So what I'm going to walk you through is building some key messages. So what you're trying to do is convey your central themes in plain language. And each of your key messages should be one normal length sentence. And then you would like to support your key message with data or statistics. So when you're talking about data and statistics, you should always remember that large numbers are pretty much impossible for people to really understand. Like if you say 3 million, it doesn't really contextualize. So rather than saying 3 million people were affected in this subcontinent, you can speak in proportions. So half of the population of this continent or subcontinent, which has the population equivalent of Vancouver, were affected. So lots of context. Another way of speaking is through metaphor and also using images. Yeah, so as you're building your key messages from your abstract, these are good things to keep in mind. Here is a paper that I'm going to work with right now. And these are some steps. I'm going to walk through them pretty quickly because I'm very happy to just share this slideshow at the end of this presentation. And hopefully there's time and room for question and answer. So I want to leave room for that. So the first thing, as I said, is we're using the principles to build your key message. First part is know your audience. And I've decided that my audience for this paper that came out of the Chan Lab is the Canadian public. And the Canadian public, what's relevant for them is how we can help sustain both people and nature. So the next bit is avoiding jargon. A really great way to do this is to take the abstract that you've written for your existing paper or that you might submit for a class and go to Jargonizer. So the Jargonizer interface has changed a tiny bit from what it looks like up there. I think they have a black background now rather than a gray background, but otherwise it should be the same. If you plug in your abstract into the Jargonizer, it'll let you know which words are jargon and shouldn't be used when you're speaking to the public or writing a lay abstract. So this is a tool, which is also a great time to talk about AI. So the Dejargonizer is not an generative AI tool. They do have a generative AI tool on their website now. It's really important that when you submit any lay abstract at UBC or to media outlets, you are always citing the use of generative AI. The conversation of whether or not to use AI is something that you need to have with yourself in your mind and your research advisor. And as far as I understand, I don't think many advisors are going to okay that, but it's an open conversation that you can have. And whenever you use AI, you have to cite it and you have to put it into writing. Also for UBC's dissertation, you're required to have a lay abstract. And you have to declare that you have not used AI if indeed you have not used AI. You have to have some sort of statement. And I would recommend that you not use AI to just write a lay abstract for you. But, yeah. And okay, next part is once you've used the Dejargonizer, pull out part of your abstract. You can pull out part of your abstract. I literally just cut out part of the abstract and build a key message from that part of your abstract. So the key message I wanted to pull out, something that I could make engaging and snappy and easy to understand in a concise way. So hopefully you can see that this key message is a lot shorter than the original abstract that it came from. So just for example, the lay abstract in UBC's thesis requirements, the maximum number of words is 150, and then the maximum number of words for your actual abstract is 300. And after that, you can start building support items for your key message that you just pulled out. As you're building your key messages, you can keep asking yourself what the audience needs to know and why. You can also ask yourself what you found, why your findings are important, and the applications of your research. These are 3 questions that can guide 3 key messages that you can pull out of your abstract. And I like to use this chart that comes from a UBC media relations person named Alex Walls, who is very helpful. And you can plug in your key messages that you've identified, 1, 2, 3, and then build the supporting facts. Or you can choose one key message that you like quite a lot, build the supporting facts after it, and then see where it kind of leads you to next. What question might someone ask after you read the supporting fact that's given at the end of key message 1? So you'll see that in all of the key messages and all of the supporting facts, they're very concise. They're keeping to the, not using jargon. And I've also decided to use some images for some of my supporting facts. And especially for papers that involve change that you're trying to urge people to consider, images can be a great way to convey that. So a lay abstract in your UBC dissertation, I think you can include figures, but I'm not quite sure on that. But the reason I bring up figures is having these visuals on hand is a great way to build into your next project, to prepare yourself for a visual abstract, and to think about what can be a great additional item to add to your online profile, and also to prep you for any communications work that you might do, like working with a journalist. So the next bit is to tie it all together. So it is a bit formulaic, right? Like we build these key messages. First, we introduce the topic. We keep it engaging by saying it's not all doom and gloom. We provide some supporting facts. And then we add another key message and more supporting facts. So you want to add some transitions to make things flow a bit better. But because you have your outline, it will be very clear and easy to understand. You can ask yourself 3 recap questions once you've built your abstract. And then plug it into the G-Jargonizer again and see how many words come up highlighted in red. Not quite sure why this image is there, but maybe I put it there because it's pretty. Yeah, so, and then maybe you can think about how to keep your lay abstract engaging by ending it with a punchy outro and beginning it with a hook that draws people in. And these they can really be more casual than you might expect from a lay abstract in a dissertation. You want things to be engaging. So the next thing I'll talk about is how to develop a graphical abstract, because in the process of building your key messages for your lay abstract, you will also have done a lot of the groundwork for building a graphical abstract. So first of all, what is a graphical abstract? What are they useful for? They are visual illustrations of one key message. So your lay abstract can include 3 key messages, but a visual abstract is even simpler than that. They're useful for grant submissions, for personal websites, for media releases, social media. Sometimes journals have them as kind of like a thumbnail that leads you into a chapter. So yeah, sometimes your visual abstract is literally going to be like a little thumbnail. So having lots of color, very few words to draw someone in is a really good idea. So when I watched a webinar on how to design graphical abstracts, someone did an interview with a Cell Press editor, and the Cell Press editor described a graphical abstract as something that can be described in less words than your abstract itself. So your abstract itself, if it takes you 5 minutes to read your abstract out loud, your graphical abstract you should be able to describe your graphical abstract in 1 minute, just less than however long it takes you to read your abstract out loud. And a common mistake apparently that people make in their graphical abstract is, we're all really excited about everything we found. So we try to cram in information that we couldn't in the abstract. So we're like, oh my gosh, whatever figure ended up in the appendix, I'm going to put that in my graphical abstract. That is not what the graphical abstract is for. Your graphical abstract should be something that draws someone in to the main findings of your research. So here are some examples of graphical abstracts. This is one, and I should say, I have not submitted a graphical abstract to a journal, but this is one that I kind of built off of one that was submitted to a journal by, I'm not quite sure who made it, but I think Emma, who is a master's student here, I think she made it, which is exciting. And I kind of just fancied it up a little bit to use in some of our communications. So this is what a graphical abstract often looks like. There's a flow of thinking. It might describe a really key method that was used in the paper. And any charts or graphs are simplified way down. You can basically tell that this graph has a timeline on the bottom axis, and on the y-axis, it's measuring some sort of concentrations in a whale. And the whale, are belugas whales? Okay, and the whale is given as an image behind the graph. Another, this would be, I think, a good candidate for a graphical abstract. I made this one for IRES communications purposes, but yeah, this is a good graphical abstract, I think. So when we're looking at conflicts of interest when it comes to toxic chemicals governance, there's a Venn diagram comparing what's on both sides. And the paper, associated papers at the bottom. Here's another one. This is like a simplification of a figure. I didn't make the simplification, but anyway, this is a simplification of a figure from one of Amanda's papers again. And then here's another visual explaining just one part of a paper from Ganilla's lab. And this was an adaptation from figure 1 of their paper. So when you're planning a graphical abstract, this is what I'd encourage you to do. So choose a key message, one key message. So you can go back to the other slides that were in the beginning of the slideshow to help you find that key message. And use a key message or a method that you want to illustrate. Because often maybe your contribution to the field is a new method and you want to highlight that. And a graphical abstract is a great way to show flow, movement in thinking, changes in thinking. So what you want to do is after you choose your key message that you're going to work with, start thinking about some principles of composition and design. I think there's two ways of working with images. One is, yeah, you can use these technical tools to help you, thinking about composition and the way that eyes can move around a page. The other way is just to have fun with it. I think the way that I go about is I just have fun with it. I have a kind of way things look in my head and I just kind of put them down onto paper. That's also a way of doing this, but I'm showing you this as an option because it's also good to be structured in the way that you're approaching your visuals. So here's some ways that you can represent different ideas and different thoughts. Another thing I'd encourage you to consider is using a consistent color. Actually, I don't encourage you, please do this. Use a consistent color palette and use a consistent design scheme. So the elements of composition and these two examples are taken from this one paper that was that gives you some simple tips for designing graphical abstracts. And I think these 2 points are the key points that I walked away from the paper with. So you can see in the green box, the person has chosen a consistent color palette of black and gray, but you know, it is consistent. I would prefer that over something just there just seem to be random colors, like the shades of red that this person has used are all different. Like one of the reds look a bit pink. And I know it seems really nitpicky, but to have a cohesive image, I would encourage you to stick to a very simple color palette. The other thing, the thing on the abstract on the left has done correctly is all of their icons are consistent in style. And yeah, the icons do look really simplistic, but I would prefer to see that than something really complicated, like this little image of a microscope that shows, that's very accurate, but it's just very busy. So when you've kind of looked at these compositions, principles, and then you're looking for how to start designing an abstract, one software that I'd encourage you to consider is BioRender. It's probably will be great for you, our applied math person. It is a great free tool. And I should mention, though, that it comes with some caveats. It's great. First, the good things. It comes with lots of templates. It's great if you want to look at what other people are doing, look at what templates are, what a graphical abstract could look like. It's great for learning, exploring, and for finding really niche and specific scientific images. And they also run webinars. They're a great resource to consider. They have lots of limitations though, but you know what? This like little watermark here that you have to go with if you don't upgrade to the premium paid version, I don't really think it looks that bad. Like if you get a great niche image, just give them the watermark. Like they helped you. I think they're a nice company. So, and you only get 50 free objects, but Canva, the one that applies to everyone. We've all, I think, by this point, heard of Canva, and anything that any of the free products, free elements on Canva can be used really widely, as long as you don't take credit for a standalone piece, like just use one graphic and then like an already made sticker that they have and just use that as your entire graphical abstract. So I'd really encourage you to go into Canva, to go into templates, choose a flow chart and use that flow chart either as inspiration or something to build from. And Canva will let you know if something is free or if it's paid with this little marker here. That means it's a paid version, but you can just use it for inspiration. Okay. And you're always, with your visual abstracts, balancing structure with creativity. And for structure, I'd encourage you to focus on alignment, consistent font, just consistency. You can check, using these online tools, you can check your palette for contrast and legibility. This was kind of funny because I apparently, using this blue on this green failed the contrast test. So bad job to me, so. But I was focusing on creativity, I guess. So, oops. This blue, so this blue and this blue against this green is a kind of hard contrast. It doesn't pop out. I will include it. I don't have it here, But I definitely will include it either when I send it or maybe it's at the end of the slideshow. Okay, and I don't have time, but I'm just gonna go through this really quickly. The main thing I wanted to say is you can use your presence online to amplify things that you care about, including yourself, because hopefully you care about yourself. And you can do that by including the keywords and research areas that are important to you in your online profiles. I really encourage everyone to fill out your kind of professional presences, your professional bios with something that is short and easy and addresses all the things that you care about. And the reason that LinkedIn, your webpage on your university department, the reason those are all important is those are often the first things that come up when someone searches your name. They're often the first things that will come up if someone searches your name in association with your research area. Where is my, oops. Oh yeah, and this is the website for if you want to create a ORCID ID, it'll walk you through how to do that. Getting an ORCID ID is a great way to differentiate yourself from other people who have the same name as you, if that's a concern that you have. And we can definitely come back to these slides in this next section. I just have a Q&A section and like a choose your own adventure kind of slide. And yeah, that's the end of the presentation. Thanks. So do people have questions? If you do, just, yeah, let me know. Or you can go ahead and choose your own adventure.